So what if every single student had the perfect tool to unlock their own unique way of learning? Well, today we're going to open up that toolbox and, it's not filled with hammers and wrenches, but with these really powerful strategies designed to make learning accessible for literally everyone.
Let's just kick things off with a huge question, one that kind of pushes back against this old school idea. For centuries, education has often been treated like this one-size-fits-all system, right? A single path that everyone's just expected to walk down. But seriously, is there really only one right way to learn? I think we're all starting to realize the answer is a big, loud no.
And that's exactly where this idea of accessible learning comes into play. It's not some rigid rulebook. Think of it more like this incredible, diverse toolbox. It is just packed with different methods, different strategies, and each one is designed to help every student thrive by really respecting the unique way their brain and their body works.
All right, so let's open this toolbox up, shall we? This first set of tools, it's all about the physical world, helping students see, hear, and just move through their learning environment.
This breaks it down perfectly. We're looking at challenges with mobility, with vision, and with hearing. But here's the most important thing to get. Each tool isn't just some workaround, it's a bridge. It's creating a direct, solid connection between the student and the knowledge they're trying to reach.
So let's talk about physical mobility. For a student who has a tough time with dexterity or just gets tired easily, something like an adaptive keyboard or voice-activated software can be an absolute game changer. And an adjustable desk, that's not just about being comfortable, it's about fundamentally removing a physical barrier so a student can be a full participant in their own education.
You know what's so cool here? It's the sheer number of ways we can translate visual information. We can turn it into something you can touch, like with Braille or tactile graphics, or we can turn it into sound with audiobooks and screen readers. It's all about offering multiple paths to the exact same knowledge, making sure nobody gets left behind just because they can't access it in one specific way.
And for students who are deaf or hard of hearing, communication becomes this beautiful visual art form. I just love this definition of sign language. It's not just a bunch of hand signals. No, it's this rich, incredibly complex language that uses your whole body, your hands, your face, everything to show meaning and emotion. Okay, let's pull out the next tray in our toolbox. We're shifting gears a bit now. We're moving from the physical world around us to the internal world inside our heads, looking at tools that support all the different ways our brains process information. So we're going to focus on 3 really common learning disabilities that affect how our brains handle symbols. We'll look at dyslexia, which is all about reading, dysgraphia, which has to do with writing, and dyscalculia, which creates challenges with, well, the language of math. So how do you help a student with dyslexia? Well, the key is to move beyond just staring at letters on a page. And that's where this amazing tool called multisensory learning comes in. I mean, picture it. You're tracing a letter in a tray of sand while saying its sound out loud. You're using touch, sight, and sound all at once to build these stronger, more durable pathways in the brain for reading. Now, with dysgraphia, the problem isn't a lack of great ideas. It's the physical act of getting them down on paper. And these tools, they just brilliantly bypass that whole obstacle. A simple pencil grip can make a difference, sure, but voice-to-text software is just revolutionary. It lets ideas flow right from your thoughts onto the screen. And graphic organizers, they help you map it all out before you even start writing.
Math can feel like a totally abstract language for a lot of people. But for a student with dyscalculia, that abstractness is the main hurdle. So by using physical things, like little blocks for counting or beads on a string, we take those abstract ideas and make them real, something you can see, you can touch, and you can finally understand.
All right, on to our final set of tools. And honestly, this is something that helps so many of us, whether we have a specific diagnosis or not. We're talking about tools that give us focus and structure.
This is such a great comparison between the support strategies for students with autism spectrum disorder and those with ADHD. Look at the goals. They're different. For ASD, the goal is all about creating predictability and clarity. For ADHD, it's about managing energy and staying focused. So naturally, the tools are going to be different too, because they're designed for those specific needs.
For a student on the autism spectrum, a predictable routine isn't just a nice to have, it can be a total lifeline. A visual schedule, with pictures that show what's happening during the day, it takes away the anxiety of not knowing what's next. It can turn a day that feels chaotic and overwhelming into a clear, manageable path from one thing to the next.
And for a student with ADHD, a big, long project can feel like trying to climb an impossibly huge mountain.
But this strategy of chunking, breaking it down into smaller, bite-sized tasks with a checklist, it is so effective. Every time you check something off, you get a little dopamine hit, and the whole project suddenly feels totally doable.
So, we've looked at tools for physical access, for processing information, and for focus. When you take a step back and look at this entire toolbox, what do you see? What you see is a blueprint for a whole new way of thinking about education, designing for everyone right from the very start.
And this really gets us to the most important point of all. This isn't about fixing students, it is about fixing this system. It's about seeing that all this diversity in our brains and bodies isn't a deficit we need to correct, but a human reality we should embrace. When we add captions to a video for a student who is hard of hearing, we also help the person watching in a noisy cafe. When we design a lesson in clear, small steps for a student with ADHD, we help every other student stay focused too. A bigger, more diverse toolbox just makes learning better for everybody.
And that brings us to one final thought. All these tools, all these strategies, they are so powerful. But so often they're just tacked on as an afterthought, a reaction. So I'll leave you with this to chew on. What if we built every classroom, every textbook, every piece of software with this entire toolbox in mind from day one? What would that world actually look like?